Hello there, and welcome to Sweet Child of Time. I'm your host, Steve Barnes, and today is episode 100. And in doing so, we're watching one of my favorite movies/shows, Dethklok / Metalocalypse. That's a couple slashes for you. Makes perfect sense. Dethklok, Sweet Child of Time. There's the tie-in, so nobody give me any crap for saying this doesn't fit in with the show theme. It absolutely does. So for 100, I had to bring in a special guest. We'll bring her in just a moment, but first, I wanted to bring in my first mate. He's the, he wasn't the first mate, but he was definitely like the most popular dude to come around Sweet Child of Time. We'll talk to him now. Ahoy there to Nate Dunn. Ahoy, Nate.
Howdy, Steve, or ahoy, Steve.
Yeah, you got to say ahoy. What's up?
Ahoy. What? Oh, not much. How are you doing?
Good. I was wondering about I want to be like a typical dad right here. How's the weather there in Pennsylvania? It's pretty cold here. Is it cold there too?
Dismal as always.
Okay. So, I are you a smoker first off? Do you have to go outside to smoke?
I am not a smoker.
Okay, so you don't know the struggle. I was just wondering what Pennsylvanians and people like up north did to like go outside and smoke, because it's tough to do. Like, it's cold out there and it's miserable, and I don't know. We don't have any kind of heat source in the garage right now, so it's cold. I didn't know if you had a similar problem.
I mean, everybody that I see that goes to smoke is all bundled up, just huddled around the little ashtray outside.
That's right. They make it sad for us, but I don't mean to digress. Nate, we're here at number 100. I hope you brought your Smucker's jelly. Do you watch the Today Show where they do like the 100 thing for when you turn 100 and like you get like Wilford Brimley to like say your name? Are you familiar with that?
No.
Oh, yeah. When people turn 100, they get to go on there. And it used to be Wilford Brimley. Now it's Al Roker that does that for Smucker's jelly. But we're eligible now, which is great. And it's appropriate because I kind of feel like a cranky old man today. Well, I feel like a 100-year-old man.
Now, I have a quick question.
Okay.
Because maybe it's before my time. Is Wilford Brimley the guy that says diabetes?
No, it's not.
I'm pretty sure his name is Wilford Brimley, and he has diabetes.
It could be. Maybe our special guest knows, because I did bring in a very special guest. It's somebody that you've heard us talk about almost every episode of Sweet Child of Time, and she's actually graced us one time on Sweet Child of Time. Here's her second appearance for the 100. I wanted to bring in my wife, Heather Barnes. Ahoy there, Heather. Toot toot.
Okay, ahoy, Steve. Toot toot.
Thank you.
Once again, the one and only time that I've ever podcast with you, you introduced Nate as your first mate, and I was surprised then, and I am still surprised that you consider him to still be your first mate, despite our 20 plus years on the ship.
Well, I mean, yeah, well, like, there's no like boat term for best mate, right? You're my best mate, Heather. You're my my true mate. How's that? You're my true mate. Nate is somebody that I depend on greatly in the podcasting world. So therefore, I have to give him a title, and that seems like an appropriate. I'm sorry, Heather, that you take offense to that.
I just thought we had settled it last time. But
obviously still unsettled.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm more like the parrot on Steve's shoulder.
Yeah, and I'm his hooked hand.
So when you listen, because you've become a listener of Sweet Child of Time for a long time, Heather, you just didn't listen to the podcast, but you've kind of picked it up in the past, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 episodes. How does it feel to like hear us talk about you on the podcast?
I like how you often just refer to me as a listener that gives feedback.
That's right. Makes it sound professional.
Which I'm fine with. Being anonymous in the shadows,
But do I ever misrepresent you or miscredit you, or is there anything you want to get off your chest here?
Well, I wish I had prepared because I might have some things to say, but off the top of my head, I'm going to say no. No, I think you do a very good job of repeating what I say to you, the good and the bad.
That's right. That's right.
It's all constructive.
Well, the last time that you were on, this is interesting because Nate started podcasting with me. I wanted to talk about, why Nate is why I consider him the first mate. Okay. I'm going to go into podcast land now, 100 now. So we started out, we just had maybe a dozen or so listeners. This podcast started out, myself and James. He was a big help beginning this podcast. He helped me launch it, and he helped me by being a co-host. But he didn't really want to go into 1899 because when we were done with Wheel of Time, I wanted to do more podcasts. I loved the show Dark, and I knew that this 1899 was by those creators. So I knew I wanted to do this as it was coming out. Kind of strike while the iron is hot kind of thing. I was like, maybe I can, do something with this. And it actually worked because the first episode we did together, Nate, it all of a sudden there was hundreds of listeners, or there was just maybe a dozen before. And then for episode 2, you got sick and you lost your voice and you weren't able to podcast with me. And I didn't want to let these 350 some people down or whatever. I don't know. I just wanted to cater to that audience. So I brought Heather on, and she came and she recapped that episode 2 with me. We did The Boy. So that she's definitely tied in with the boat in that way. And it's kind of fun that she's came back around for another number 100 now.
Comes full circle.
That's what I was going for. Time is a flat circle. This is proof of it.
Good tie-in.
Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to talk about some of the charts that we've been on in this episode 100. And first off, let me see some stats on this. Only 10% of we're low income, y'all. Are y'all okay with being part of a low income property?
I'm just happy to be here.
We get government assistance. But only 10% of low income podcasts make it to episode 100. So we're part of that lucky 10%. The other 80 to 90%, they average out where they stop at episode 3. So yay me for keeping it going that long.
Beyond 3.
I mean, of course, this is like an average among 5 million podcasts, because there's 5 million podcasts out there. The average lifespan of a podcast is only 6 months, though, and we've exceeded that by 18 months, I believe, and we're still going, even though, I don't know. And 60% of our listeners are female. And I thought that was an interesting stat. That I thought it was because of Lindsay. I thought maybe Lindsay was one who drew the female listeners in. But when I looked at the stats, it's actually 1899 because a lot of the Darkway fans of those two shows just turn out to be female. So when we were doing Wheel of Time, it was 80% male, 20% female. So we kind of changed our audience a lot once we switched formats. Fascinating stuff. I mean, it's riveting.
Good information.
I'm still waiting for my royalty check.
Well, let's see. I haven't divvied up how much I owe each of my co-hosts here. But yeah, you would account for a lot of it, actually, Nate. Because I another math fact, we've had about 10,000 downloads. You've been a part of 7,000 of those 10,000 downloads, Nate, because they were all the 1899 stuff. That's what everybody's digging. And out of our top 10 podcasts, the most listens or whatever, you're on, of course, 9 out of 10 of those. Lindsay's on 2 out of 10 of those because one of them was one of our 3-way podcast where she came on and we talked about how pissed we were that it got canceled. For some reason, that was our number 2 podcast, is us lamenting about 1899 getting canceled. And then, of course, our Dark episode number 1 got a few listens. but we're back here with Dethklok now, and we're on part of our musical series, and usually Lindsay's joining us. It was kind of questionable if she wanted to join us for Dethklok here, and just like it was questionable if we should make Nate watch Jesus Christ Superstar. And I understand you had some big issues. I don't understand. I was there talking to you about it with your issues with Jesus Christ Superstar, Nate. But why did you bring Doomstar Requiem to the table when I asked you to do a musical movie with me?
Because I love death metal and I love cartoons.
It is the best of both.
It's pretty cut and dry.
How many times have you seen this? Have you watched it more than once?
Yes, I watched it maybe like a year after it had come out. I think I was still in high school. And then, of course, being an edgy high schooler, I was like, there's too much singing. I don't like it. There's not enough growling and yelling at people. But then I rewatched it
I was
in
wondering
college.
about that. Yeah.
I rewatched it in college and I was like, hey, this is actually pretty good. And then I guess I forgot about it for a while. I mean, out of all the Dethklok stuff, I'll be honest, it's I guess there's 4 Death albums now. And then right. This, I would rank this probably as the last thing, but it's still Dethklok and I still enjoy it. I don't want anyone to think like, oh, I hate it. There's definitely some moments where I'm like, all right, we got a little goofy here, but it's enjoyable if you're a fan of the band and a fan of the show.
I agree with you. It's not like a Dethklok album necessarily. It's more like a soundtrack to a Dethklok musical, where the other 3 Death albums are actually albums that seem like an album from a band that you can listen to, and it's not comedic. It's just metal.
Yeah.
Heather has a history with Dethklok. Heather, when did you first start to get into Dethklok?
Oh,
or Metalocalypse?
Have to throw that one back to you because you have a much better idea for a timeline. When did you introduce me to Metalocalypse?
Well, as it was airing, I suppose. But you don't always like the same things that I like.
And that's actually, it's funny. Nate says that he likes death metal and he likes cartoons. Those are 2 things that I generally do not like.
Exactly. So,
but I love Dethklok. I find the irony and the over-the-top satire to be hilarious, and I think the music is very talented. All of the musicians, yeah, you've had the pleasure of seeing Dethklok live. What do you remember about that experience? Bernie was there.
Yes, he was.
We took a picture in front of their tour bus.
We took a picture in front of their tour bus. Yes, that's documented history.
Rocking hard that night. Yeah, our faces melted, and yeah, it was.
Well, describe for us like exactly how it was, because it wasn't just like a band. It wasn't just Brendon Small on stage with 4 other dudes. It was a visual performance. You remember like the screen behind them, or should I describe this?
Yeah, you better. I vaguely remember it. I mean, it has been over a decade, so.
Yeah, it's true. It has.
Yeah.
We saw them on their second tour, and they were touring with Mastodon and High on Fire.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, see, you're going to remember this as we go. And it's some of these songs are documented on YouTube because we recorded some of this and put it on our YouTube Barnestown channel. But yeah, they play as the characters of Dethklok play behind them. So they're in the front and they're back, they being Brendon Small, Mike Keneally, the guys in the band, and they're being backlit. So you can see them, but they're like kind of in the shadows down there. And what you see on screen is like the band, and that's what you're supposed to be watching. And it wasn't just watching the band play. Between every song, they had a goofy skit. And they were usually dumb, just like, Dethklok stuff. And they were like, anytime you do like some kind of like time skit, like in front of like a live audience, it might not always go well. But, everybody was drunk and laughed at the right times.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, the guy Face Bones was like he would like come up like 3 or 4 times, like, "Hey, everybody, are y'all enjoying the show?" You don't remember him doing that?
That was really good, Steve.
Oh, thank you. I'm like a voice actor, I suppose. But yeah, you're right though, Nate. This is an opera. This thing is a clock opera. And I wanted to quote somebody that what they had to say about musicals in general. They not necessarily a fan of musicals. This is what they had to say about a musical that they were forced to watch. They said, and these words like kind of ring true with the Doomstar Requiem. So let's think about the Doomstar Requiem as I say these words. There are a lot of people singing. This whole movie is singing. But there are a lot of things that, because there's no true dialogue, I don't understand what's going on. I don't get it. Like, there are certain things that are so out of pocket, whether it's trying to be funny, that's fine. I mean, I guess at a moment you might think this is funny, but there's no explanation to make it relevant. I was not aware this was a musical. And when the opening number hit, I was like, okay, this is a musical, but it's not even a musical. It's an opera. And there's no dialogue. I mean, there's parts where the lyrics were, I don't want to say they were super well written, but there were some parts I were like, okay, this is kind of clever. But there's a lot of parts between characters that they sing while conversing. It would have been so much better if there was just dialogue and not try to cram so much melody into it. So, do you think that's a fair assessment of Doomstar Requiem, Nate?
I just want to let everybody know I'm shooting daggers through the camera at Steve with my eyes.
I felt them, but I kept going.
Yes, Steve. I am aware as to not only who quoted that or whose quote that is. I completely understand and empathize with their point of view.
I do too.
No one watched this. No one listened. And no one listened to the Jesus Christ Superstar one. Because I'm about to gush over this.
Before you do though,
on that stance.
Yeah.
There's exceptions. There's rules.
Can you see how this Doomstar Requiem was maybe influenced by Jesus Christ Superstar in many ways?
I don't like where this is going. But yes, I can totally see it.
Heather, didn't you have some different points about like Jesus Christ Superstar? Because when me and Heather were watching it, we were like, this is that part from Jesus Christ Superstar, et cetera, et cetera. And Heather took better notes than I did about that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can think of 3 distinct parts that are a complete parody or that mimic Jesus Christ Superstar. One, of course, is Abigail's Lullaby.
Right.
Which is would be Mary Magdalene's Everything's All Right.
Yeah, absolutely. You remember these parts, Nate?
Yeah.
Yeah, Abigail. Like, her last name is weird too. Did y'all catch what her last name is, by the way?
Remelton Drink.
Yeah. What kind of name is that supposed to be?
It's like, I was thinking like something that melts in a drink, but it like remelts in a drink. Remelton Drink. That's how I remember it.
But yeah, what are some other comparisons?
There's a part in Jesus Christ Superstar, and I tried to ask you about this the other day, Steve, and I couldn't quite put my finger on exactly where it is, but where there is such a laughably horrible transition from one upbeat song where it just simply cuts and goes right into a downtrodden song.
Right, yes.
And the exact same thing happens right between the tracks, I Believe, and A Traitor Amongst Us on this album. To the point that when I saw it, I was like, that right there. That's
right.
Jesus Christ Superstar right there.
Yeah, I Believe is so like unbelievably upbeat. So So it got into anything.
Yeah, but the fact that it like chops the last syllable of the word goes right in. Oh, it made me laugh. And then just all of the backup choruses in all of the tracks.
Oh, right.
You know, like, oh, we have our best man on it. That chanting in the background, or when Charles is resigning and he says, "Good day to you. Good day." Totally reminded me of "So Long, Judas." Poor old Judas.
Poor old Judas. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, those were some of the points that I was just like, oh yeah, oh, I see it. It helps having just watched Jesus Christ Superstar with you too before that, so that the similarities were blaring.
Well, Lindsay made some kind of quote from Jesus Christ Superstar, and I immediately jumped on wanting to do that podcast. And then as soon as Nate said Doomstar, I immediately wanted to jump on this too. And like seeing them back to back, you're right. I mean, it's appropriate that we're doing like our movie podcast and we're doing this one after Jesus Christ Superstar, because I see them as so similar. They gave me a lot of the same feelings. Unbelievable. I mean, believe it or not. I mean, it's bizarre, but I'm very moved by music, I suppose. But I wanted to bring us up to like the fact that this is they consider this a movie, and production was spent on it as if it was a movie, but it's actually just like the last episode of the show. So Nate, I wanted to if you could kind of give us an idea of like how we got to this point in our story at the Doomstar, where we begin.
I mean, the very brief synopsis is at the end of the show, before Doomstar, Toki is kidnapped. And then you're kind of left with a cliffhanger. And then there was quite some time between the end of the show and Doomstar, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah, like a couple years.
So you were kind of left hanging. I mean, that's, in a way, I kind of feel that that's all you need to know to get the context of Doomstar. Togi gets kidnapped, and the band's kind of left throwing their hands up going, what are we going to do?
But we know, like, who, maybe Heather can chime in too, like, do we know the story of, like, who kidnapped Toki and why they were kidnapped?
I do know that story. So Magnus Hammersmith, who is the former rhythm guitarist for Dethklok, who was fired. He and the Metal Masked Assassin, who is a person that is trying to get revenge on Dethklok because he thinks that they killed his brother, but he really just went to a Dethklok show and accidentally died, like so many of their fans do. Right. But yeah, the Metal Masked Assassin. I'm just gonna call him MMA. That's okay. If you hear me say
he doesn't
MMA,
have a name, right?
Yeah, he does not have a name. No,
okay.
He doesn't. He is commonly referred to as the Assassin or the Metal Masked Assassin. So anyway, they wanted to kidnap Toki and Abigail. Abigail's just kind of like a bystander. They didn't really want to get her, but they did.
She's the band's producer, though. So, like, there was no significance to that?
There was no significance. She just is in the wrong place at the wrong time when they nabbed Toki. But yeah, their whole plan is just basically, Magnus like has to live in obscurity now outside of like the fame bubble, and he's all jealous. So that's his goal, is to like capture Dethklok so that they also lose fame and live in obscurity.
Brendon Small played most of the voices. He played pretty much every voice except for the ones that we're about to name. I guess it's easier to do that, right? Say what he didn't voice, and then every other voice is Brendon. He plays everybody in the band except for Toki. Mark Hamill plays Mr. Salacia, the guy who's like in the... You know who the whole bad guys are, so you know who Salacia is.
I do know who Mr. Salacia is.
Better than I do.
The tribunal.
Yes. Yeah, he's the guy that like kind of leads it, right?
Yes. He. Although there's never any like definition of who is actually the leader, he is the one that the other ones defer to, and it seems that all he ever orders them to do is sit back and watch.
Wait. That's right. Wait. He says that a lot.
Yeah.
Wait for Nate. He's back. The one note I wanted to say before we went, though, is like for this movie, you asked like the framing of time. So this movie was released and it was supposed to be the beginning of the 5th season. And as it turned out, the 5th season was canceled. So they made this as the last episode of season 4. And because there was no more episodes to be done. And then after the show was canceled, the fans, myself included, did like all these campaigns for the show to continue and to switch networks. But by 2016, Brendon had given up, saying he was done with Metalocalypse at that point in 2016. Now, obviously, he's changed his tune because a new movie just came out last year, but that's what he said at the time. Because I think they went through it so much back and forth, like we're going to renew you, we're not going to renew you, oh, we're going to cancel you, oh, but we'll give you a movie, which they never did. He had to get this done himself. So I think it was just a project that just caused him a lot of grief, even though it was a wonderful project, in my opinion.
Yeah. I cannot wait to see the movie. Army of the
Doomstar. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's supposed to pick up right where this left off, because this left off on a big cliffhanger.
Big cliffhanger.
Let's talk about that, Heather.
Yeah.
So, at the very, I mean, it seems weird to talk about the end of the movie now, but I think that is appropriate because
sure,
this one, there's another movie that comes out after this.
Yes. And my understanding is that the other movie does provide some clarification as to how this movie ends, where we see Murderface asleep in bed with a wound on his hand and black veins creeping up and then like glowing out of his chest.
Right.
So, it's something I didn't catch the first time watching this, when they are in the depths of humanity and he is being flattered by, how did he put it, a douchebag nightmare.
Oh, he's like, yeah, Planet Piss is my favorite band, man. That guy.
Yes, exactly. And as that fan is saying that, he like cuts his Murderface. He cuts him in the wrist with this spiked bracelet. And so the theory is that he had poisoned him. He had poison spikes. And, we were just talking about Mr. Salacia, who also, in the track A Traitor Amongst Us, provides some foreshadowing right there when he refers to the fact that there is a traitor among the ranks of Dethklok.
Right.
And it would only make sense that it would be Murderface, because he's the bassist. Nobody likes bass players. And
Of course. You guys heard of Dethklok, but have you heard of the Death Quiz? Say no.
No.
Well, you're about to. I have a bunch of questions here, and they're based off of like the guys who voiced Dethklok. One of which is Tommy Blatcha, who was like a co-creator. That's big enough for you. That's big enough he co-created Dethklok, and he used to voice some of the characters. He does not anymore, but he's worked in all kinds of great places. So that's where these questions are based off of. So here we go. Question number 1. Ooh, hot. Tommy Blatcha used to write also for the WWE. What famous WWE wrestler's catchphrase became "Snap into a Slim Jim"?
Oh, I know
Is that
this.
Macho Man Randy Savage?
Well, Nate jumped in with the answer. I guess we
Okay,
need
now
to.
I know what to do.
Yeah,
Not say I know this
Yeah,
first.
just point at the camera and blurt it out.
Okay,
Yes,
got it,
do
got
that.
it,
So
got it.
Nate got Randy Macho Man Savage. 1 point for Nate. All right.
Oh,
Question-
yeah.
Question number 2. Woof. Okay. Tommy Blatcha used to write for TV Funhouse with Robert Smigel. Robert Smigel also performed as this mean-spirited cigar-smoking dog. What was his name?
Blue from Blue's Clues.
Mean-spirited cigar-smoking dog. One clue, he would show up to award shows with his dog puppet, cigar-smoking dog puppet, and mean-spiritedly...
Comic, the insult
You're
dog.
close. You're
What's
close.
his name? Shoot.
You got the last part right. You don't have his name right, though.
Why don't
You would say, "For me to poop on."
yes.
Are you familiar, Nate?
No, you said cigar smoking
man.
dog, and I thought about the Max from Tom and Jerry.
Oh, you're thinking clean. That's nice. That's like G-rated stuff to think about. This guy's definitely rated R. I'm going to go ahead. Heather, you're done. It's Triumph the Insult Comic Dog.
Yes, it is.
That's your homework, Nate, is to check out some Triumph stuff. He is hilarious, and he got Eminem pissed off at him, and Eminem punched him once. That was fun.
Oh.
Okay. So 1 point remains. That's just 1 point for Nate. Next question. Haha. Tommy Blacko worked on the Eric Andre Show as a writer. What famous comedian played Eric Andre's sidekick for the first couple seasons of the Eric Andre Show?
Oh,
I knew somebody had to know this.
what's his name? You're gonna tell me. And
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna,
can see.
I'm gonna be so mad.
Who's Eric Andre?
He's not a very good comedian, but
He's like a super prank comedian who has like a kind of fake show, the Eric Andre Show, where like he destroys the set and gets upset, and he does like really insane pranks, like makes his guests sit in a big plate of spaghetti, or I don't know. He just does all kinds of weird oddball stuff. He's part of the whole what was that crew of guys he hung out with and did prank shows with? It was adjacent to Jackass. At any rate, y'all don't know. This was Hannibal Buress. The famous Hannibal Buress was his sidekick on the Eric Andre Show. Y'all have seen the memes. Anyway, kids, Nate's winning so far with 1 point. I have low hopes you're going to get this one right. Let's see. Glug glug. Tommy Blanca worked for Drunk History as a writer. When show creator Derek Waters would drink regularly and talk history. Oh, wait. The show was created when show creator Derek Waters would drink regularly and talk history with this new girl actor.
I don't watch New Girl.
I don't watch New Girl.
You watch Drunk History?
Yeah.
This guy was featured in the pilot
He
episode.
talked with lots of girls on that show.
This was an actor man.
Oh, an actor man. On New Girl.
Yeah. The answer
Mark
is
Ruffalo.
it's a guy who looks a lot like Mark Ruffalo.
Don't know.
His name is Jake Johnson. I figured that was a gimme. I thought both you guys would know that. Okay.
When have I ever watched New Girl?
Never, but you know who Jake Johnson is. You pointed him out one time. I could swear you did.
Did I point at him and say, hey, look, it's Mark Ruffalo?
Hey, look, it's Jake Johnson from The New Girl. I remember he and Derek Waters from Drunk History used to drink, and that's the impetus of the show. You don't remember that?
No, I don't remember saying that.
Okay. All right. Next question. Boom shakalaka. Tommy Blacka also wrote for the Ali G show with Sacha Baron Cohen. Sacha Baron Cohen also performed as Borat. Besides Borat and Ali G, what other character did Sacha Baron Cohen play?
He was the French guy from Talladega Nights that I can't remember his name.
Yes, he was.
He was also the French guy in Sweeney Todd, the barber that came in with the elixir that grew hair.
He's great in everything. Serious roles, funny roles. But yeah, okay, he was Ali G. He was Borat, famously. What third dude was he? He had a movie.
Oh, he was the dictator.
And everything. Nope. This was from the Ali G show. Because he would he would alternate between 3 different characters that he would interview people as. We don't have the third one, eh?
Oh my God,
he was
it's been so
flamboyant,
long since I've watched that show.
A very flamboyant homosexual who would basically assault everybody he interviewed.
Is it Bruno?
Yes, it's Bruno.
Yes,
there you go. So Nate's sweeping this one, Heather. Are you ashamed?
Good job, Nate. I knew I wasn't going to do good in this. I've listened to Steve's quizzes before, and I knew I wasn't going to do good.
Well, you might know this one. I think you do know this one, Heather. If you can say it before Nate does. Okay, Skip Biddley. Jack Black plays a voice in Metalocalypse.
Old manager.
Name Jack Black's bandmate in the band Tenacious D.
Kyle Cage.
Kyle Gass.
Gas. It's Kyle Gass.
Heather got it.
Kyle Gass. They call him Cage.
Yep.
I heard Heather say it first, though, so I'm sorry, Nate.
That's close.
It's close.
It's very close. I mean, these next few questions, I think, are easy ones that both y'all should know the answer to. Okay, here we go. Grrr. George Corpse Grinder Fisher played a voice in this movie as well. He was a metal face assassin. What Jim Carrey film has Corpse Grinder also been featured in?
Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Heck yeah, Nate. You got it, buddy. How about for an extra point? What song was featured in that film?
Hammer Smash Bass.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you can even take this. Oh yeah, there's 3 more questions to Heather, so you could maybe tie Nate. Good job, Nate.
Yeah.
That was great. I'm impressed. Okay, next one. Hi, Daddy. Mark Hamill
What?
plays a voice as well. He plays Salacia. What does Mark Hamill say when Darth Vader says to him, "No, I am your father"? How does Luke respond?
He falls off a bridge.
He says something first, though.
Oh.
Anyone play that scene in your mind right now? Go ahead and push play. Watch that famous scene from Return of the Jedi in your mind. I'm sorry. Empire Strikes Back. Nobody? He says, "No, I am your father." And Luke says, he's hanging on to the thing. He's like, and he says it. He says, "Nobody?
You're not my
No,
dad."
that's impossible." That's what he says. That's impossible.
Oh.
So nobody got that point. All right. Okay. Co-writer of Doomstar Requiem was Janine DeTullio, who played Brendon Small's mom in Home Movies. Who played Brendon Small's best friend, Jason, in Home Movies?
Oh my God. Bob Belcher.
This actor also voices Bob Belcher in Bob's Burgers, correct?
It's 3 first names.
You're getting there. Nate, any idea? Bob's Burgers? What else is he's also in?
I'm never going to come up with his name.
It's like Bob Belcher.
Fletcher? Not Fletcher.
It is Bob Belcher.
He's forever Bob Belcher now, that's for sure.
Yeah. Archer. His name. He was an archer.
Archer. That's correct. He's also Archer. That's what I was
I
thinking.
don't know his
Fletcher.
name. There's a John in it.
He's on an Arby's
Yep.
commercial.
Arby's commercial. There's a
Yep.
John in there. All that is correct. Who's going to bring it home? Anybody?
No, I'm wasting time. I'll never think of it.
All right. H. John Benjamin. That is the fella's name. All right. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. Heather, I'm disappointed.
I know. But
Nate,
you
I'm
know
surprised.
I'm bad at names. Like, how are you disappointed? I named 3 other things that he's in. Like, I didn't get it wrong. I just didn't get the name.
Here's my last one, and then we can then Heather has a quiz that we can play too. Because we have a good connection here. How's the storm holding up, Nate?
Well, you cut out pretty bad on that last question, but
Oh,
Uh-oh.
because we can still see you and hear you, so I can still hear that clicking noise. Okay, last question. Bear McCreary did the orchestration for this movie. He also did the soundtrack for The Walking Dead. Who played Glenn in the early seasons of Walking Dead?
I didn't watch that show.
No clue.
The guy who died. He came back
Yeah,
from the dead. Asian dude.
We remember how he died,
No,
but I don't know his name.
Okay. Sorry, Steve Young. Nobody knows your name. So, yep, Nate, you swept it. You got 4 points because you got the bonus point for Hammer Smashed Face.
All
Good
right.
job, man.
Well done, Nate.
Thank you.
Well done.
Right.
I'm so mad at myself.
For what?
Not thinking of Triumph and H. Benjamin, like the 2 names, like on the tip of my tongue. I'm lamenting over the fact that I didn't get H. John Benjamin or Triumph. Like, those are the ones that I knew. I knew, but I'm bad at names.
Hello, and welcome back to Sweet Child of Time. We're back here with Nate and Heather. We're podcasting, y'all. We're podcasting. We'll fix it in the edit. Have you guys heard that TikTok reel thing that people do where they're like, we're retired, we sleep till etc.
Oh,
Have
yeah,
y'all-
we're Richmonders. We go out to brunch at 10 a.m.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're podcasters. We don't like to have conversations unless they're planned ahead of time. Do you guys have any?
Planned conversations?
No. Do you have any? Can we got to go viral here, so we all got to come up with one.
Oh, okay. We're podcasters. We're not going to take a bathroom break for 2 hours.
Longer for me.
I can't go beyond 2 hours. So.
We're podcasters. We're going to get off topic.
That's a good one.
We're podcasters. I get mad about loud noises. Oh, that wasn't good. Oh, that won't go viral because I stuttered.
We're
Anybody got another one?
podcasters. Of course my dog is barking in the background.
That was good.
All right, we left off on talking about Dethklok, and Heather was leading us through the movie. And I would like to go ahead and start from the top because Nate has already rewatched the movie since the last time we spoke to him 5 minutes ago. He ran off and watched this entire movie somehow. So Heather, do you mind starting us from the top of this movie?
Yeah, I can do that. So we open the clock opera with a scene of the monks of the I'm messing up already. The monks of the Church of the Black Clock chanting about the birth of the Death Star, the Doomstar, sorry. And, we hear Ishnifis Meadle who I may call Ishmael throughout the rest of this. He sings about how before the prophecy can come true, one of them must die. And then we see Charles kind of lamenting in the background about, like, what does this mean for the band? And that whole track is called The Birth / Fata Sidnus, sorry. Fata Sidnus Orator / One of Us Must Die. And Fata Sidnus Orator translates in Latin to The Doomstar is Born.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So then we immediately
first I wanted to see if Nate had any notes for our, that intro there.
I rewatched this and then proceeded to go listen to Death Album 1, 2, and most of 3.
Oh, heck yeah.
Because especially there are certain songs in here that really have that Dethklok sound. They're not so operatic. And I love Brendon Small as a guitarist, and especially a death metal guitarist. See, this is me getting off topic. I'm just going to start ranting about stuff.
Do it.
That's what I want you to do.
I absolutely love that he uses harmonies on all of his solos, and all of his leads are harmonized pretty much. And his tone for his leads isn't just overdriven, and it's not a Cannibal Corpse lead where it's just someone shredding and slapping the guitar neck and stuff like that. There's such good melody, and it's not chunky caveman riffs. They're nice melodic. He's got that black metal tremolo picking kind of thing going on, but it's death metal, and it's that a lot of his riffs have that Swedish death metal vibe to it, where they're very melodic, and then they'll break into almost, they have a melody. It's not just, what does Jim Carrey do when he's describing napalm death? I don't know if you've ever seen that. He's like,
sure, I have on Arsenio. Yeah,
he doesn't Brendon Small doesn't do that, and it's just it's fantastic. But something the very end, Blazing Star, that's probably my second favorite track on the whole thing.
For guitar, he prefers, like you said about the harmonies, he's always said in interviews he prefers a 3 guitar attack. He doesn't just do 2 harmonies, he does 3 harmonies. So he's always doing 3-part. And were you aware that he was a Berkeley, he graduated from the Berkeley School of Music, and he was a Steve Vai type disciple. He worshipped Steve Vai and Paul, I can't remember Paul's last name, but he played in Mr. Big.
Paul Gilbert?
Yes, Paul Gilbert. These were his heroes as, guitar players growing up. And that's what he aspired to do, and went to Berkeley to become a musician. But when he graduated, he went into stand-up comedy instead. He's really into absurdist comedy, and he would do this, still does, do this character called Captain Mustache, where he just gets on stage and he plays a character the whole time. He very rarely goes on stage as himself. But yeah, he got into TV with home movies and was doing music for that. And then he had are you familiar with home movies, by the way, Nate?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the earliest Brendon Small is the character Dwayne that we meet in home movies, who's a guitar shredder as well. And yeah, all of his guitar solos, he's not just making it up as he goes. It's a very well structured piece that he puts together, and it's clear that he's a trained musician. He's not just some random dude coming up with neat riffs and neat runs. He's trained in every way you could think of.
I, on the other hand,
yeah, it's your turn.
As a vocalist, I don't pay attention to that kind of thing.
Oh.
I mean, I appreciate so much of, some of the later tracks on this album. Just the cleanness, like you were talking about, Nate. But I think I said previously, I'm not a huge death metal fan. But yeah, something about the way that Brendon Small can put it together. It all works. The harmonizing and, the picking. I love some of that. in the later tracks. But yeah, like for me, it's I'm much more of a visual person. So like the visuals, as they work together with the music is what, the biggest impact for me. So
One,
I loved, like, in that opening track, the swirling star in the opening credits
sure.
and, the imagery of the monks all chanting. So
It is
Well, yeah,
pretty good.
let's get back to that then, Heather. If you want to, where do we go from there? All the monks chanting and one of us must die. What happens after that?
yeah, in the next track, we see Magnus introducing Toki and Abigail to their permanent living situation, and basically explaining why he and the metal masked assassin have joined forces to capture them so that they can then later trap the members of the band Dethklok, to force them to live in obscurity and like lose fame, just like Magnus did when he was kicked out of the band. So he's basically jealous. Whereas the MMA has other alternatives.
Right.
He wants to actually
Sinister.
like get revengeance, as he puts it.
Like the Revengeancers. That was a Dethklok thing.
That was indeed, yes. So, but yeah, he wants to make the end of them happen. But Magnus talks about he's the brains and MMA is the bronze, and this is the plan. This is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna execute it. So yeah.
Like screamo metal versus death metal was like their styles that I wrote down here. Like Magnus was kind of doing some screamo stuff, and of course MMA is death because so he's death metal.
Yeah,
good old George Fisher.
Corpse grinder.
Yeah, that's right. So heck yeah, I mean, why not? Do you have any notes about that scene? That's the "You're Scaring Me" song, by the way.
I think my only thing, because Brendon Small also is the voice of Magnus, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And I'll be interested to hear Heather's opinion on this. So maybe it's an unpopular opinion of mine. As Brendon Small progressed with Dethklok, I think his vocals went downhill. In the beginning, they were very, like, Death Album 1 was very traditional death metal style, and then Death Album 2 was still pretty traditional, but it almost sounded like he was really straining. And then 3, because then right after 3, it was like a year or two, and we got Doomstar, and in 3, you can really, really hear him start to struggle. And even when he's doing Nathan Explosion's vocals in this, he's really struggling. I think that if you did a blind, like you didn't see who was singing, but you put Nathan Explosion next to Magnus, they were singing the same line, the same way, you wouldn't be able to tell. And
it was the same person doing that.
Yeah, you would just, I don't know. It's just he's not using a good voice for Magnus, I guess, is what I was thinking.
Oh, okay.
Like, really hit.
Did he he voiced Magnus throughout all of the other episodes, right? It wasn't like he was filling in for somebody else in this.
I believe so.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that question was almost thrown at you, Heather. Like, could you tell a difference in Magnus's vocal style than Brendon's normal?
I mean, what is Brendon's normal? He does so many characters. There is no normal. There's no baseline.
I guess.
Okay.
I'm actually just very much blown away by his vocal capabilities and his, transitioning from one character to another. When you think about all of the characters that he does and all the different styles and, vocal inflections for each that he can incorporate.
That's something I wrote here too, is like a lot of line delivery is done with a lot of gusto. And that's the way I looked at it anyway. Did you have anything about that before we get to partying around the world, Nate?
No, I'm ready to rip into that.
I wanted to let you know how we do the show. It all starts with Zencastr. I send the link out to my co-hosts. We all get on screen together. We can all see each other just fine. There's a great, easy, nice connection. Everybody records locally on their microphones, which means that if their Wi-Fi cuts in or out, or if the conversation drops sometimes, which is pretty common in podcasting when you're on screen on a Zoom call, Zencastr records everything perfectly. So in the final edit, when they send me their file or when I download their file, everything is there. That cutout is not there. So it works great when you're editing. Zencastr makes it really easy to edit your podcast as well. You can just go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my promo code SweetChildOfTime and get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. If you want to have the same easy experience that I do for all of my podcasting needs, then choose Zencastr. It's time to share your story. All right, yeah. Like Heather told us her opinion about that earlier, how much she loves that. But yeah, lead us through this next step of the thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Dethklok is partying around the world to forget that they miss their friend Toki.
Yeah.
That they forget what's his face and what's her name.
That is like the best line, I think.
I
like
agree.
the intro. But yeah, you definitely did not like this one, Heather. You were all thumbs down, right?
Again, because I'm visual along with the lyrical, it did nothing for me. Yeah.
How about you, Nate?
I think it was supposed to be a breath of fresh air so that we weren't going to listen to death metal the entire hour or 45 minutes, but okay, 10 out of 10, not a fan. It's like in the show when Toki has that little Toki has a bunch of little songs in the show that are like little pop songs, but this was
that's
like
right, that's right, he's our
a
pop
really
guy.
really bad rendition of a pop song.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I don't think he was trying to like write a great song here. I think the intent was 100% comedic, but it seems like it kind of missed the mark a little bit with both of y'all, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Are you about to tell us that you loved it?
I feel like it is so far. It seems so removed from everything else on the entire album.
I mean, that's typical of Metalocalypse and Brendon Small's work, in my opinion. I think it's, he takes these weird left turns. And I don't know. I'm all for taking them, because I guess it's just the fact that it's like Dethklok. It's the fact that it's within context. Like I think if I was watching like another show with other characters, maybe doing something similar, I might not think it's as good. But because these guys are supposed to be death metalers and all that, and they're like drowning their fears, drowning their sorrows in such an obvious way, and they're even aware of what they're doing. I don't know. I just think the absurdity is wonderful, and I love when it switches up a couple of times, and then when Nathan does like the apple pie switch up, and then they come right back in with "Where's Toki?" The nice chorus of that. I don't know. I'm defending it.
That's
for no
not
reason.
In that song.
Yes, it is. Like at some point, like while they're partying, like all the fans are going, "Where's Toki? Where's Toki?" Like for 4 measures, and then it goes right back into the fun stuff.
Yeah, like another thing I just really didn't like about it, and I think I expressed this to you too, was that this is kind of like they all have an opportunity to introduce themselves. Like, I'm Pickles, I'm Nathan, and they like the caricature that they portray in this happy rhyming song is like so off from who they really are. Like, Nathan does not seem brutal.
Well, you're supposed to already know these guys. Like, this is not
I know,
like,
but still, I don't know. And Murderface didn't even get to say anything about.
That's because he's the bassist.
Oh,
So that's
yeah,
exactly
we don't
right.
Care. We don't care if the bassist has a say.
My bassist is going to hear this, and I'm going to get a text when this comes out.
I'm a bass player too. Okay, I can make
That's
these
why
jokes,
I can talk shit about it.
and we're fine.
I can only play 4 strings.
All right, Heather, where we're now? We're
All right, so after partying around the world, we cut to a scene where we see CFO sitting in a control room, and he's like, wondering how they're going to find Toki, and they've got all of the Clocketeer operatives around them, and they're saying, we have our best men on it. What else are we supposed to do?
right. This is stuck in my head a lot.
Yeah, I know. That's one of those Jesus Christ Superstar choruses that just repeats. Yeah, so they promote this guy. He's going to be the best. He's going to be awesome. All right, let's get him on it. Oh yeah, he's dead. Oh shoot.
Yeah, that Brendon Small key moment. That's right.
And then Ishnifis is like, oh, but the dead can tell us things. So they dissect him and they find a USB drive in his corpse.
Right. Okay.
That has Magnus on it, basically saying, oh, you sent somebody to try to kill me. That's not going to work because I got your boy. And then CFO almost calls off the whole thing. He's like, oh my gosh, our troops are exhausted. We're out of options. What else can we do? And then Ishnifis decides okay, we're going to do a motivational speech, time to motivate our people and let them know that, they're brothers.
This is the denial song. That's right. Okay. Yes.
And this is where they decide that, no, we're bandmates. He's just a rhythm guitarist. No, he's a co-worker. He's not a brother.
Rhythm guitarist.
Exactly.
Co-worker.
So Ishnifis says, what are you going to do? What you going to do?
What you going to do, Nate? Any notes on this part so far?
No.
I love the brother denial stuff. That is great. And what else did I have about that? Oh, yeah, okay. The next up is is another song that's a little silly as well, right? But
yes,
are we more forgiving of this one though?
We are.
Okay. What is happening here, Heather?
All right, so then we see Dethklok lamenting about, the weight of the decision that they have to make, whether they're going to be heroes or not. And what their life could look like if they were heroes, or what their life looks like now, things that they could change. Again, not one of my favorites.
I love when they were on roller skates doing the shuffle with their white suits on the roller skates. I love that image.
Okay.
Am I the only one?
It's not very brutal of them.
No, it's not.
I agree.
They're grappling with heavy emotions.
White suits in front of gold pianos is not very brutal.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to go back on, you keep mentioning CFO, and that's Charles Oftenson.
Charles Foster Oftenson.
Correct. I don't mind you calling him CFO, but I just wanted to clarify that for anybody who was wondering who that was.
Yes. Because ironically, he is their CFO.
And he's the guy that sounds most like Brendon. We were asking who sounds most like Brendon. It's CFO. That's basically Brendon's normal speaking voice.
Got it.
But yeah, did you have any notes before we move on, Nate? Did you love How Can I Be a Hero?
I most certainly did not.
Was this another fast forward moment?
Yep. Hitting the button.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
I will defend he does all these neat moments within these songs. It's a lame song, but he will always do some kind of weird rundown, or does some some kind of neat thing within it to make it stand out. So even these goofy songs, I grew up on home movies. I was familiar with home movies before Dethklok. So of course I was very forgiving because I was used to those silly songs. And so bringing them in here, just like putting on a warm jacket, it's that Brendon Small silliness. I'm waiting for more Brendon Small silliness to come out next. I wonder what he's going to do next.
It's silly for sure.
Yes.
Well, you do know that they put out another Doomstar film, right?
Yeah, we never got to talk about that last time around. And I do want to come back to that when we finish talking about this, because I have some things to say about it. I got some things to say about it, and we'll find out about that when we get back. Okay, Heather?
All right, so
Where's our next
basically
moment?
the band tells Ishnavis, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. And so what they decide to do instead is like go on tour and try to use a hologram,
Right?
Toki,
Poor move.
instead when they're performing. Of course, the fans are all wondering like where he's been. Yeah, so they use the hologram and it fails miserably. So all of the fans like rush to the chat room to spread rumors.
They're going online.
They're going online. To spread rumors about where Toki is. And then Magnus Hammersmith, whose username is HammerTime1234, joins the chat and basically tells them that that Dethklok is selfish and like they don't care about Toki, like to stoke the fire to get the fan base to like hate the members. And so the fans are pissed and they're booing and they're leaving the show. And then Dethklok finally decides, okay, yeah, Toki, we're coming to save you.
They had like really worried faces right before that too. Like I like when Dethklok all gets that they move, the scowls like turn into like it's like they're real people. They have feelings. I mean, I know they're not, but
yeah, that is the fans are chatting.
Right.
That's the title of that track, and that is probably it's definitely in my top 5.
Okay.
This is yeah, this is the one where they say, "Where is Toki? We want Toki."
Okay.
Which you were thinking of before.
Want Toki. But
yes.
I swear they went into a "Where's Toki? Dun, 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 where's Toki? Dun, 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 where's Toki?" during. I'm gonna have to listen to "Partying Around the World" again when we get off.
You will.
Okay,
you will have to listen to that again.
Yeah. Nate, did you have any comments about the fans are chatting before we move on? Going online. I mean.
I will also have to say it's probably top 5 songs off the album for me. It's catchy.
If
Very
anything,
much
yeah,
so.
he makes catchy tunes. I mean, that's why he's successful, I guess.
Now the next song
is your favorite.
Is trash.
Wait, I'm not done talking about the fans are chatting.
Okay.
2 more things. This is the only time that we ever get to see the host of the Dethklok Minute.
Oh, yeah, that's right. What is his name?
This song opens with the host of the Dethklok Minute. His name is Dethklok Minute Host.
I thought he had an actual name. I know he's like kind of geared after like Chris Hardwick, I think is like who he's modeled after.
That sounds about right. Yeah. Yeah. Another thing that this is only relevant to people that actually watch the movie and don't listen to the soundtrack, but actually watch the movie, is the when you do go into the chat room, some of the rumors that are being thrown around, like somebody says Toki gets too fat to play, and like that person's avatar is like a big fat guy, and somebody else says, oh, he had his tongue cleaved and horns implanted, and that person's avatar is somebody like that. And oh, he did too many drugs, he melted off his face, well, that person's avatar is that. So like that's
interesting.
I enjoyed that aspect of it, as well as the you're gay. That was great. You're gay times 8. All right, that's all I had to say about that.
Yeah, lead us to this next piece of crap song.
All right, so after, Dethklok vows to, we're coming to find you, Toki, we cut to a scene of Abigail and Toki in their dungeon, and Abigail's trying to soothe Toki. He's so sad and so worried. And so she tries to sing him a lullaby to calm him down, but she is absolutely terrible at finding comforting words. Because she talks about how they'll basically cannibalize them.
Mm-hmm. They'll put up our skin and they'll cut up our veins. That kind of stuff.
Exactly. But close your eyes. Go to your happy place.
She does say close your eyes, and that's the direct parallel to the Jesus Christ Superstar one too, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yes,
that was
like
my point.
line for line.
Exactly. Mary Magdalene. That is her role in this, to serve as the Mary Magdalene.
Yep.
To Toki.
I mean, yeah, the song is goofy as all can be, like 100%. But I think what makes it is like the jokes within each verse. Like every line has another joke in it, and then just like the sappy animation with the little rats that are listening and.
And the bat that comes and perches on her finger like a bird.
That makes it very forgiving, in my opinion. Like, I don't like this song, but I was just smiling ear to ear the whole time. How about you, Nate? How did this make you feel?
I like that they add her sing it because it adds to the irony that she's saying these terrible things, and for a mostly male-dominated show,
yeah,
they tried to pin her as like, I don't know, they want you to believe that she's just the sweet girlfriend that's caught up in something terrible, but she's singing about cannibalism and stuff like that.
Yeah, she's kind of hardcore.
But
she knows the MO of the Revengeancers.
But this was not my favorite clean singing in the show. Just, I don't know. I was like, skip, please go forward.
Right, but I mean, I think this song was well placed. I think Brendon knew that, like, I'm going to put this song right before pretty much like arguably the best part of the movie is where we're getting ready to head into now. So what's coming up next, Heather?
Yeah, I agree with you there. This did kind of lead Toki into his happy place where he started to recall the origin story.
His memory palace.
So yeah, in the next track we see the members of Dethklok. This is right after they'd fired Magnus, and they're trying to decide how to go forward with the band. Squisgard does not see a need for them to replace Magnus.
One guitar band.
He can be a one guitar band, but they're like, oh no, look at all these folks out here trying to audition. Let's give them a chance. So they do that. They audition. And
this is based after that Brendon has said this is based after when Metallica like famously auditioned for a bass player for when Cliff Burton passed away, because everybody who played bass came to like play, and it wasn't like a duel but just who can fit into Metallica and who can like get us forward. And like there's interviews like with Les Claypool trying out and like all kinds of oddball people showing up, and that's why like you see so many weirdos in the crowd, because that's exactly what the Metallica like bass auditions were like when Jason Newsted got hired.
Damn, I did not know that.
Yeah. But yeah, Nate, how are you feeling at this point with this part of the movie?
It's pretty good. I mean, it transitions into arguably everybody's favorite song.
Yeah.
That's really all it is. It's a transition, and I guess if you know the lore, it's a little nod to the whole Metallica thing. Like I didn't even know that, but it makes sense now.
Yeah. So Toki shows up. He's the last one to audition after Skwiskar basically slaughters everybody else in video game style.
Mm-hmm.
And he begs for a chance to audition, and they give it to him, and then we are at the duel, which is
once again
the pinnacle of the entire album.
It is. This is the apex, but I want to step back a little bit because Toki coming in here and singing his little cute, little adorable song. Again, like it was moving to me, and it was one of those moments where I was like wiping the tears from the side of my eyes because it was like so cute. Like I'm just enamored with Toki. But yeah, what happens next here?
That's actually one of my favorite things. Okay. Is that once Toki comes in and he kind of gives his sob story, one of the things that Skwiskar says in the moment is, "Oh, you seems so nice. It's a shame you must go down this way," which is just so heartfelt. Like I have Skwiskar followed by 3 exclamation points next to this song title because I think he was amazing. Like even his vocals when he's introducing, what does he say? I'm sorry. Hang on just a second.
Okay.
There's the one part where he comes out of the shadows and he does a vocal solo, and like his voice is just amazing. Anyway, so then we go on to the duel where they both summon their patronuses.
That's right. Yeah, it just got more and more epic as it went.
Yeah, I agree. And they flew into the clouds, and then they took an old English proper break.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then they ascended once again to the heavens, where the eagle chased the centaur.
I mean, they're both mighty. I don't know if y'all noticed this. Nate, you probably did. Brendon Small doesn't skimp on his animation. He makes sure that their fingers are in the right place on the scale of the guitar as they're going. He makes sure that, what you see is exactly what they're playing on the scale.
I did know that. It is, it's pretty wild. They even had a little video series for a while where Skwiskar teaches you how to do different Dethklok riffs.
I watched those, and that's how I learned the Duncan Hills song. Yes. Did you do learning with that too, Nate?
I don't remember. I think I tried to learn the lead. I don't remember if he taught the lead or the rhythm for Thunder Horse, and I was like, wow.
Yes.
This is too hard.
Yeah, but those were really fun. I mean, they were like done like in typical Brendon Small style, but I mean, yeah, the way he presented it, he was like, okay, and then you do this part, and it shows you like these like scales that are like, hard scales, but it's like, it's doable. But he's like, and then once you're, he just kind of dismisses it as if it's like, yeah, you can figure this out in 3 seconds because I can.
He's Skwiskar.
He's Skwiskar. And his acceptance of Toki, I think, is kind of moving. Like, hey, there goes Melissa. I love seeing cats on film. Melissa's butt. But yeah, Skwiskar accepts Toki at the end here, and yeah, he does it a really like flamboyant way too, right? He's like, "I want you in the band," kind of thing.
Yeah, he says, you have to understand nobody's made me play this well before.
That's what it is.
And I think that's very humble of him. That's an endearing moment for him as well.
Kind of. I think it's more like he likes Toki like in a selfish kind of way. It's like, this guy brings out my guitar playing, and he can harmonize with what I'm playing well, so he's a great accessory of mine.
Oh, I can see it that way. Yeah, like, because he's here, I'm going to be better.
Or well, even Toki can help me be better because he can help me reach higher planes that I couldn't reach before. I think he has that in him, but I think it's all self-centered. Like, you know, if I wasn't here, Toki couldn't do anything. That's probably his attitude, which is of course wrong, but you know, that's the way he thinks.
Oh, I don't know. I don't get that. I think Skwisgaard is very humble and willing to accommodate during this track.
During this track,
he's got a lot of pride.
Yes.
Yeah. But
I'm thinking of the history of Skwisgaard and Toki, and it's not a great history.
Yeah, that's true. If you take all of that, but this is the origin. We're still in the origin, so things are fresh and new. All right, so like after Skwisgaard says, "Yes, you're in the band," Toki is so overjoyed, and he finally feels like he belongs like in a family because he's had a shit family his whole life, and like he's found a brotherhood, and he believes that he can succeed in anything he wants. But ironically, the background of the rest of the members of Dethklok are talking about like, oh, now we'll be famous, now we'll have fortune, like not talking about the family aspect, whereas Toki's whole heart is in it. But
good point.
For the rest of the band, it's all about their wallet in this song, which is, I believe.
Well, you know, they were like, can you feel this electricity? And I think like Toki felt it in a family way. I don't think they necessarily felt it in a greedy way. I think that like the five of them together like is an undeniable force. And that's the first time the five of them have been together. So they're like feeling like the potential power, because we know that they're like beyond just mortal beings here. So like this is the first time that they have joined up. So I don't think it's just greed. I think they actually feel something, and they, you know, maybe their intention is to like make money and get chicks, which is different than Toki's intentions. But I think what they're feeling is like the real feeling of like them being together. They just have different plan Bs, I guess, or like next steps.
Yeah. I think the ulterior motives for feeling as a unit are different. For
Agreed.
Toki, it's definitely family-oriented.
Okay, we got another Toki song here, Nate. How are you feeling about this one for the magic carpet ride and whatnot?
I believe it's pretty good. I mean, Toki's like a nice breath of fresh air in a lot of Dethklok episodes. Sometimes he gets a little too soft. But I think it fits pretty well in here, and his little family issue, stuff like that. I don't know, gives a nice dynamic to the character, especially when like you go back and you watch the show and you see all of the other characters and like how they were brought up. Like, I don't know if you ever watched like the Christmas episodes.
Sure, yeah.
Or I think they do something with like Father's Day or something like that. Like,
or Mother's. Yes. Like,
well, they do,
all the moms come and live with them for a while.
I think there's one part where they're talking about their dads or something like that. I think it's the episode where Skwisgaard goes to find his dad or something like that. One of my favorite moments is everyone's talking about how they hate their dad and stuff like that. And Nathan just turns to him real casually and goes, "Yeah, I love my dad." And then it flashes to them sitting on a lake, like fishing, in the middle of the woods. I think that's so funny. But that's sidetracked. Yeah, it gives a nice what Toki wants out of the whole gig.
It's refreshing to hear you say, Nate. I thought you were going to bag on it again, and yeah, I like this.
Well, don't worry, because I'm sure I'll find something.
Heck yeah. What you got for us next then, Heather?
All right, so after I believe we have an incredibly rough transition right into the next track.
Oh, this is this is what you referred to last time. Yes.
Yes. Where Toki is cut off mid, I believe, and it goes right into a meeting of the tribunal where they're discussing what the band is doing, and Mr. Salacia mentions a traitor within the Dethklok ranks, which is foreshadowing for something to come later.
Well, we did discuss that already.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, I didn't see any other traitorous moments, so I think that must be it, right?
That is my interpretation.
Unless, like, Magnus is the traitor, but that doesn't make sense.
No, he's already been traitored.
Yeah, any more at that scene, you guys, or are we going to move on to our training segment?
No, and the training one's surprise. I think the song's actually pretty long.
Yes, because this is like
pretty long.
The song is pretty long compared to the other ones, but I kind of think that it's just a big setup, but it's not really that in-depth of a scene.
I kind of agree. I feel like so much of this should actually probably be two songs. There's first the training where Charles explains to them, like, you got this, you're ready to go. And then we're introduced to, or not introduced, but then we see Edgar Johnfrew, demonstrating what all their arsenal is, to include a Hot Topic gift card.
Yeah, this part reminds me of Mermaider, like when they're describing all the weapons, and then like he's handing out the weapons. This reminds me of kind of the same thing. And yeah. Hot Topic gift card. That's probably the best one.
Yeah.
The most deadly weapon you can find.
Well, the fact that it's a reoccurring theme throughout the entire series where people are being bought off with Hot Topic gift cards makes it great that they would use it as a weapon. So then after, the introduction of the weapons, Ishnophis once again has some inspiring words for them about brotherhood, and they bash it once again.
Yep.
And then that's when Edgar Johnfrew gets all pissed off at them about, you're bastards for not realizing how good you got it. Like, I'd do anything if I could have my brother back. And then we go into a whole song slideshow about his brother and what happened to him.
They almost do more callback with his character than a lot of other characters that we see, which is kind of interesting because I don't even really see him as like one of like the main characters, but we get a lot of him here.
Yeah, I mean, they did a callback during the tracking track.
Yes.
Where they went into a slideshow about MMA's past, but it was so much less than what they did for Edgar and Eric Johnfrew. By the way, fun fact, if you didn't know, Johnfrew translated in Danish means virgin.
Aw. Kind of makes sense.
So yeah, I like the beginning of that song, the whole brother thing, the
rhythm
recap,
guitar.
I didn't love.
I guess just trying to shove it down our throats a little bit more, so like when they do accept them, it's like a bigger deal.
I think it's also an overarching theme to drive home the point of brotherhood. MMA is seeking revenge because his brother died at a show, and now, Edgar and Eric have this brotherhood, and now, the Dethklok members are being called on to be brothers. So,
sure.
Yeah.
What about Brother CFO? I think his big song comes up next, right?
Yes.
Okay, What do we got here?
So now that they're all weaponized and prepared to go into battle, Charles Foster Oftenson decides that he is no longer going to be their manager / lawyer / bodyguard / CFO. He's kind of always taken this job as like, his life's mission. It's his greatest work. He's prided himself on being able to keep them out of trouble and keep them safe. But in this one instance, unlike all the others they've ever been in, he feels like he cannot protect them, and so he would fail. So he's kind of backing out here. Yeah.
This was my questionable moment of the movie. I like the song, but just especially the Good Day. But I just the whole like way it fits in with the story is like my least favorite part is this.
Yeah, it kind of, there's a lot of questions about why he thought this would be the best time to do that.
Yeah. What's your opinion, Nate?
I'm going to go off the rails for a hot second.
Do it.
So throughout the show, Charles does some very secretive and sketchy things. He's involved with lots of different organizations and is aware of a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And what if Charles is the traitor?
Ooh. Holy cow.
Wow. Okay, that kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, that kind of blew my mind too.
Especially considering how this ends and his position that he's in.
That'd be a really good like twist around.
Oh.
Yeah, he's got a pretty high position now, like higher than. Well, I mean, manager of Dethklok is pretty high, but I guess is the position
it is
of
the seventh largest economy in the world. So,
right, if he leads the clock, black clock, what is it called?
If Church of the Black Clock.
Then yeah, he would be in charge of, like, directly in charge of Dethklok, even more so than being their manager.
Mm-hmm.
That's some good stuff, Nate.
Yeah, that's some food for thought, man.
Because he does. Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, we haven't watched the newest Doomstar, so maybe that's totally wrong. Anybody that's listening and seen the new Doomstar, you could disregard that. Leave a nasty comment. Go to my band page. Leave a nasty comment. But no, I was just thinking of that when I was watching it the second. It was like, what if? Like Charles is one of the, even though he does some sketchy stuff, he's one of the purest characters. He's always got Dethklok's best interest in mind. But what if he's playing the long game? So
he has Dethklok's best interest in mind and like their economy's best interest in mind. And in doing so, to like run a strong, tight economy and to like have that kind of power, there is always, some nefarious, shady stuff that goes hand in hand with that, Nate. You're right. Like,
but what if, what?
Mm-hmm. No, I am. What?
I was going to say, what if he really doesn't have Dethklok's best interest in mind?
Sure.
What if it is another organization that maybe we haven't picked up on?
This really is blowing my mind. Because, like,
throughout this whole thing, Charles.
We want to love Charles.
Right.
And we still can because we don't know, but...
In my mind, I always associated him, if we are doing a, Dethklok versus Jesus Christ Superstar, I always saw Charles as the Jesus Christ. Because he's the one out there, like, trying to solve the problems. He's the one worrying over the people. He's the one in the control room with the clockteers. Like, he's the one working with Ishnifus in the church to motivate them and lift them up and supply them and prepare them. So, like...
But now...
Look
at him as Judas.
Look at him as Antichrist Superstar. No, Magnus will always be Judas in my mind.
Yeah, he plays the Judas role here,
he
but I mean,
absolutely plays the Judas role. He's, he feels.
Does
betrayed.
He though, or does he? Yeah.
Oh yeah,
But what if he's? Is it Peter that denies Jesus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he could be the Peter.
All right. Or the doubting. He can't be the doubting Thomas. No, that didn't even play a part in Jesus Christ Superstar. Steve, what are you thinking about? But yeah, none of us have obviously seen the Army of the Doomstar. So now, I mean, we all want to see it. I've been telling Heather that that's our obvious next step is we got to watch this thing, and you as well, Nate.
Yeah.
So I'm even more anxious to see it now with this suspicion in mind. We just finished watching the True Detective, and I had a pretty strong suspicion about a certain character. And it turned out to be just a fanciful thought that I had. It wasn't true at all, but it was very similar to this. It's like, oh, what if that was the case? It would have been wild. And I'm liking where you're leading us, Nate, but we do gotta head on here. We're heading into like our hour one. What's our next step, Heather?
All right. So after Charles resigns, the crew is like, oh, great. Now we don't have a CFO. And Squiscar even says, nice ways to start our journey with no protections. And then Ishnavis tries to like jog their memory, like, with flashbacks of Magnus in the USB message that they gave him. And Pickles realizes that, oh yeah, he did say the depths of humanity. That's the name of the club where Toki first played his first gig, so that's probably a clue.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the track called "The Answer Is in Your Past."
Oh, that's the "Oh no, we don't know." Ooh, ooh. That's that song, right?
Yes.
All right.
Exactly. Yep. So that's a pretty quick song. And it's kind of an interlude to the next song, which is The Depths of Humanity, where the band goes to find Toki, but instead they encounter an old band manager, Squiscar's old guitar teachers, old groupies, and a douchebag nightmare. And they all harass them for leaving them in the past and not bringing them into fame as well. There's one fan that kind of corners Murderface at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He professes that he is a fan of Planet Piss, which is not possible because that album was actually never released.
That's
but
right.
In shaking Murderface's hand, he cuts Murderface on the wrist with his poisoned spiked bracelet. And somehow like hypnotizes him and puts him under a spell with all of his compliments and, oh, you're one of us, you're the best. And Murderface is eating it up. But the whole other time, the rest of the band is like, oh my God, we got to get out of here. Look for clues. Avoid these people. Let's go. Grab Murderface. Let's get. And so they do.
They found a clue. Squiscar finds it.
He does. He does find a clue.
Any notes from you, Nate, about this whole part? Because this part's pretty great.
It's good because Jack Black's in it as the old band manager.
Mm-hmm.
But the next song is probably my favorite or second favorite off the album. So I'm really looking forward to getting to that.
Oh, okay. Sure.
I have a big star next to the next song for me as well as one of my top 3.
Okay.
Just giving it back. So, after Squiscar finds the flyer that says, oh, this is the audition space where Toki went. So they start heading there, but they're encountered by a big thriller mob of zombies, like zombie-like fans, ex-fans. And they can't get through to get all the way to the audition spot. So, they try to fight them off at first, and then they're not able to. And then so the Pickle suggests, what if we make them not hate us? And so Nathan pulls out his checkbook so he can start writing checks so they can buy groceries and pay rent. And Murderface and Pickles and Squiscar are giving away equipment so that they can become successful musicians. And all the while they're, these zombies are transforming into like white knights. as they're receiving these things, and the band realizes how great it is to giving it back to you. But then, the crowd is still insatiable, and they don't have any drugs to satiate them. So Dr. Roxo rolls in with some cocaine.
Very
and then
brief
the whole
appearance.
crowd turns into white knights.
Yes.
And they mosh pit, and they're giving it back. And like one of my favorite visuals of this whole part is when they're singing the chorus, giving it back to you, and it's like the profile of the band, and they're like pointing and doing this motion with like the backlight coming in at them. Oh, it's my favorite. I love
It's not
it
very not very brutal though, is it?
It's not very brutal, but I also wrote down pickles with 3 exclamation points because his vocals are amazing in this song.
Exactly. That's and Brendon Small does that in a couple actual Dethklok songs that aren't this one. Like Hatred Copter, a huge portion of the chorus it's Pickles singing. It's supposed to be Pickles. Mm-hmm. It's so refreshing because even though they're not growling or screaming or anything like that, it's just I don't know, it's kind of like a James Hetfield meets like Serge Tonkian kind of weird mashup.
Yeah, there's a soprano and
he doesn't he do like a little bit of, not like a lot, but there's one part where I was like, is that a Michael Jackson influence?
Yeah, absolutely. Like he did like a little guitar chord that sounded like the Billie Jean kind of strum. This is funny because this might be like one of my least favorite songs, and y'all like love this one. That's kind of funny. Like, I mean, I like it. I like it.
Over. See you guys.
Yeah, we're done. Bye, Steve.
I obviously I like it. I like everything about this, and I like this too. But I mean, to me, it's like I think I prefer like the Toki song. I think I prefer Partying Around the World. Maybe this is definitely cool, but it's interesting to me like how much you like it, Nate, because it reminds me of like one of like the goofier songs and one of the goofier moments. Because it's kind of unnecessary, It's like, this is like a video game moment where you just have to get through a level. It's like, not much to it. They have to get to that door, and there's like people in between them. So it's not like a huge plot thing. But it's just interesting to me.
The song's just really well written. And there's so many different aspects to it. It's metal, it's got the choirs and stuff like that. And then, I will say, the downside for me is Dr. Roxo. I didn't like Dr. Roxo in the show. I get it. He's supposed to be like everything that's wrong with the 80s music, which is totally fine. I don't like 80s music at all. Hair metal is a big no-no for me.
Sure, okay.
Same.
So I appreciate that, like Dr. Roxo being the representation of that, but he didn't have to be there. He wasn't there the entire movie, and then he just shows up.
They just had to give him a cameo.
The crowd needed that coat, man. Like, they weren't going to turn into white knights without it.
Yeah, I think that was the whole point of this whole thing too. Was like, we have to have a moment where we do like a Michael Jackson thing. We have to like have Dr. Roxo involved somehow, so he'll turn everybody white. I mean, I agree with you. He's kind of like a tired character. I think the funniest episode with him is like the episode where he has to move in with them, where you kind of see him as like a really like obnoxious, overbearing person. Like, I mean, I think they really they extended that really well. But sure, like, I'm glad he wasn't in the movie more than this. I'm glad he didn't have a whole song. We should be grateful for that.
This is true.
Yeah, just a brief cameo. So basically, once he supplies the group with what they need, and they're ready to move on and actually enter into the practice space which is ultimately where Toki and Abigail are being held hostage. And inside the practice space, they're ambushed by MMA. And they're wondering, no one's on the way to come and save the day. And I love that chorus.
We were seeing that yesterday.
But then Ishnavis shows up and basically says, yo, I got you. I'm here. Just run. Go do your thing. And I'll sacrifice myself. Which he does.
Classic.
Exactly. Good old Ishnavis. Always on the light right side. And so, Ishnavis dies. The Doomstar turns red because someone has died. It's part of the prophecy, so it's changed color. Magnus gets mad at MMA at this point and is like, what are you doing? This was never part of the plan. And then MMA was like, it was never your plan to begin with. And so, the band escapes from MMA's. Oh, this was something that I had a question about. So, all right, I understand that Magnus and MMA went into cahoots to get Abigail and Toki. And I understand the Revengeancers, which consisted of MMA and Edgar and the teenager. But all of a sudden there's all these henchmen that they're having to fight through to get back out. Who are all these people? Do the Revengeancers have the equivalent of clocketeers as well? In the I mean, maybe it was just a visual fill for them to be fighting through these crowds, but I wanted to know who all those henchmen were.
I assumed it was MMA's hired goons. Do you know anything about that, Nate?
No, I can't remember them in the show having any kind of henchmen, so I kind of lean towards it was just screen filler.
That's what I was wondering about. I'm okay with that. I guess I don't need to know every character's name.
What do we got next after that part?
Yeah, so after they escape that, they're basically in a holding place where they're trying to decide what should we do?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. They they don't know. They can't believe Ishnavis is dead. They consider giving up. Murderface thinks that if it was him instead of Toki, that they would, quit on it. And at that moment, Nathan professes that, he would risk his life, every breath, and risk his life to save Murderface. I wrote N.E. Hearts M.F. And so they basically resolve to complete their mission.
Yes.
And they say, let's do what we came here to do. And that track is called Crossroads. Again, it's one of those level up tracks.
Sweet moment. Yeah.
It was so sweet. It really was. It was the first time Nathan ever admitted to caring about someone.
Nate, is your name short for Nathan or Nathaniel?
Pretty much my whole family and a couple of my friends call me Nathan. But I usually just tell people to call me Nate because it's way easier.
A lot of things rhyme with Nate. I was just wondering because we're talking about Nathan so much. And I'm is that you? Because I was going to ask you, Nathan, is Nate, is this, would you tell your bass player this if he was having a hard time? Do you think you could find it in yourself to pump up your bass player this way?
Would you say you used every breath and risked your life for him?
I definitely would.
Aww.
That's sweet. It's great to hear you say that. I hope my bandmates feel the same way about me as I'm in the bass player position myself. Because, I feel a little insecure. But good deal, Nate. Good man.
I try.
Yeah, that's also the part where they run through the hallway, right? They like do the hallway run, or is that coming up next?
That is coming up next. After they say, let's do what we came here to do, it gets real metal at this point, and they start running into the building.
Right.
They find Toki and Abigail and free them. Yes. They're confronted once more by the assassin, but because they're all five together now, and Nathan has said that he loves his brotherhood, it like activates the power of the Doomstar, and their eyes glow and they float in the air,
demons and stuff.
And then like squiggly lines come out of them, and it explodes MMA, so he's dead at that point. So yeah, and then like Magnus says, "Oh my God, what is this?" And I laughed so hard, but because in that moment he saw the error of his ways, he realized he was the villain, and he had to unalive himself because of it.
I too must go down, is what he said. That's right.
Yeah. Yep, another Judas reference, man. He realizes he's the bad guy. He's gotta undo it.
Now, Nate, I want to tell you that when they were running down the hallway, when they were doing that run, I believe that guitar riff is like the strongest riff of the whole movie. Do you know what I'm talking about? I can't hum it along, but that's the scene that like I wrote my explanation marks next to exclamations because I noted that guitar run just has like the heaviest, most drive to it because they're like determined and they're getting ready to do some kick-ass stuff. This is like
also the fact that Corpse Grinder's vocal is behind that, just doing this like raw, like build as they're running.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty brutal.
It was very brutal.
Brutal. We all agree it's brutal.
Very brutal.
That's more or less the end there, right? Because like you said, they're starting to glow, they're starting to float around and stuff.
Yeah, basically after Magnus suicides. It clips right to Dethklok celebrating their success with a massive concert. All the fans are cheering. They're doing the blazing star. Nathan's kissing Abigail. We see Oftenson becoming the high priest.
I'm nervous about that now.
Yeah, I am too. We're gonna have to go watch that immediately later.
It ends on a super high note. It like ends like,
except at the very end.
Yes, that's
where
right.
We see Murderface with his bandaged hand and the black veins creeping up to illuminate his heart. So again, I think that's foreshadowing that he was poisoned in the depths of humanity, and that Mr. Salacia foresaw that happening when he said there was a traitor amongst them. But that's my idea.
I like Nate's idea way better.
I know you like it, but I'm not gonna. I'm
jumping on it. I like it. It's neat.
Nope.
Because that would be like just the perfect, like the first like 20, 25 minutes. It's like a perfect diversion. It's like, oh, it's Murderface. And then like he's cured, and it's like, oh, it's not Murderface. Who is it now? What? I mean, come on. That's some good stuff, Nate.
Should be a show writer.
Yeah, a punch-up guy. But yeah, that's the very end there. And this is an unresolved ending for almost 10 years. Because I think I said this before. This was supposed to be the beginning of season 5, and then it was canceled, so this became the last episode of the show, period. It capped off season 4. And then Brendon Small, just pretty much like after a lot of campaigns, after 3 or 4 years of trying, he said he gave up in 2016. But then 2023 came around, and in August, he released the Army of the Doomstar. And that is definitely available to watch on... You could buy it on YouTube. I think you can buy it on Amazon. You can watch it. And we are going to watch it for sure. Heck yes. Yeah, Nate, did you have anything you wanted to wrap up with before Heather goes into her next segment?
No, just excited to watch Army of the Doomstar.
I was excited to watch this again. I'm glad you chose this. I'm glad it got to grace my television again.
I'm glad you suggested this too, because like I said, I haven't really thought about Metalocalypse or Dethklok in over a decade. So when Steve told me that you had suggested this, I was like, oh yeah, that's something I used to enjoy. I should check that out again. And so there was a refound appreciation for it.
Yeah, and then you were like, I want to be on the podcast, dang it. I was like, come on,
I did
Heather.
not say that. It went more like, will you be on the podcast, Heather? And okay, I guess.
Yeah. Usually when I ask her stuff, Nate, it's not okay, I guess. It's like, nah. So when she says like, okay, I guess, I take that as like I'm going to jump on this opportunity.
It's because I'm here, Steve.
I know. It
Right,
always
you
goes
making
back
it
to
happen.
Nate. Everybody wants to podcast with Nate. And so I'm just the guy who's recording.
Giving it back.
Well, yeah, Heather, when I said Heather's segment is coming up next, is the last thing we got going on here is you had a quote quiz that you wanted to give. And we started this last week, or last time we were together. And so we already started a couple of them, but you have plenty more to go. So let's just start from zero and see who's the best quote rememberer. Oh, Nate, you just watched it today, so you kind of have a leg up on me here.
I hope so.
Yeah, you might do better than I still have the score. So far, you're at 1, and Steve's got 3 from what we did last week. Is that what we're saying?
We're gonna start. Yeah, we're gonna start from 0 here, though. This is brand new stuff.
Okay, new scorecard happening.
Yep.
Here we go. On with the death quotes.
Oh yeah, do your thing again.
Oh yeah. You've heard of Dethklok and you've heard of Death Quiz, but have you heard the death quotes?
No.
All right, that's enough of that. All right, here we go. This one's tricky. I'm the one that plays the hits.
That's Pickles.
Yes.
Hitting the sticks.
Track. You got the track name for 2 points.
Oh, is that Partying Around the World?
You got it.
Oh, 2 points.
Heck yeah. And so this one is actually relevant because it's true.
Okay.
Because some of Dethklok's greatest hits are, like you had mentioned earlier, Hatredcopter, where Pickles has a predominant vocal headline on the song.
Heck yeah.
So, well done. All right, this one's a little tricky. I'm throwing all the curveballs at y'all right now.
That's fine.
We're the power, we're the fans.
Oh, this is the Where's Toki song. The fans are chatting.
You got the track.
There was a specific person that said that? Nate, you could jump in here too, but say the line again.
We're the power, we're the fans. The person is a little tricky.
Is it the dude in the wheelchair? John Fro?
I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah? Okay,
yeah.
why?
Yeah, 2 points.
Because it was him?
Because in the track, the fans are chatting. It's actually the fans that say that. but it is a callback to a line said by Edgar Jomfru in season 1, episode 9, Mordland.
Whoa.
I didn't even move.
I don't know.
It's a callback to season 1, episode 9 in Mordland, where Edgar and Eric tried to steal the single and blackmail Dethklok.
Okay.
And that's where he originally says it. So they called that back.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm smart.
Hey, you got it. You're scaring me. Whoa.
Toki. Sorry, Nate. You're going to say something too, but I said it first. What song, though? You can say the song because I don't know what song that is. Whoa, you're scaring me.
Is that Magnus and the Assassin?
You got it, Nate. Yep. Y'all are evenly tied now.
All right, what you got next, Heather?
All right. Next, I have So Nice to Be Appreciated.
Murderface. Depth of Humanity. Did I get them both?
Was that too easy?
Yes.
All right. I can fight one or two, but not all these dudes.
That's during the that's during the
Is that
when they were doing the
is that some time ago?
No.
No.
when they were going to like rescue Toki from the place, and there was the door there, and they were like all the people were in the way of the door, right? That song, right?
What's that song called?
I don't know. Do It For My Brother? The answer is in your past? I don't know. But the line itself, I think, might be. It sounds like a Nathan.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'll give you Nathan Explosion, and it is giving it back to you. Yep.
The one that you guys love.
Yep. Exactly. All right, here we go. Stop saying brother. It's grossing us out. Thank you.
Is that Pickles?
No.
No.
Is it Murderface?
Yes.
And okay. What song was that, Nate? We gotta both grapple for the name of it. It was the religious guy. They were saying it to him.
Is it How Can I Be a Hero?
No.
I don't remember the names of these songs.
Previous track.
What's that?
It's one of the tracks before that.
Yeah, it is the track like when the religious guy was like telling them, right?
Is it one of the ones with the slashes in it?
Uh-huh. Yep.
The Greek one? Or
no,
what?
it's like one word and then a bunch of words.
Yep. You got it, Nate. A point for you.
You have the kind of brain like I do where I see things, but I don't quite see the letters, but I can see the structure of it.
That was in the song Tracking / Ishnifus and the Challenge. Yeah.
So what, Nate won, me won? Is that right?
Yep.
Alrighty. We
All right,
lost
here
Heather.
we go.
The
Nope,
storm.
I'm here. If you think bad thoughts, push them away.
Abigail?
No.
If you think bad thoughts, push them away.
This was during partying around the world for sure.
You got that point.
So now it's one of 4 guys, Nate.
That feels
I'll give you
like
first stab.
some. I'm stuck between 2 choices. I'm gonna say that Is it pickles?
Nope.
I'm going to just keep rolling with pickles every time I have to guess something.
It's a good guess.
If it's not pickles, I'm going to guess Squiscar because we haven't guessed him at all yet.
You're both wrong.
Okay.
That was Murderface.
She would have done the voice if it was Squiscar.
That's right. That's exactly right.
All right, this last one. Okay, the score looks like it's like 9-4 right now. Is that what you got, Heather?
Oh, gosh. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes.
Organize your ticks and put the little thing on there. Okay.
I'm just drawing lines on a piece of paper.
This next one's worth 5 points, so whoever gets this one wins.
Oh
my
man.
gosh. Oh, wow.
I want to give Nate...
so I got to pick a hard one?
I don't know. Pick whatever one you want. I want to give Nate a fair chance because we only have one more question, but I want to make it fair.
Takes one's more. This Am's war.
That's Squiscar.
Good job, Nate. Is that 5 points?
Yep, it's 9-9. Heck yeah, we tied, Nate. We're just as good as each other.
Oh, he didn't get the album or the track.
The song.
Oh yeah, what was the line that he said right there, that y'all just said?
Takes one's more. This Am's war.
Takes one more. This Am's war. That's when they were fighting all the people, giving it back to you.
Nope.
Oh man, pressure's on.
Takes one more.
Is this some time ago?
Yes. Yes.
To be fair, the only reason I won is because we were running out of time. So I'm still gonna give it to Steve. Steve still wins, but
yay! It's my podcast. I won 100 episodes. Hooray!
Oh, good job. Good job.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I guess we'll wrap this up. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us for the Dethklok 2 hours, not the Dethklok minute. But yeah, Nate, let us know what's happening in Pennsylvania right about now. How's Voidmaster going?
Voidmaster's well. We just got our drum tracks in. The final copies were in, so tracking starts this weekend on guitars, and we're looking for a late spring to early summer release of the new album.
Nice. Heck yes. And for myself, by this point, we're already past March 1st now. We're way in the future, guys. So you can check out Intravoid's single In the Woods Somewhere featuring Lindsay Dunn. That's on Spotify and Apple and everywhere else. And keep listening to Sweet Child of Time, episode 101 coming up next. Heather, what do you got to plug for us this week?
Probably Intravoid and Voidmaster. Sounds about right.
Those
two. Yeah.
She plays a key role in each. So I appreciate you doing that, Heather. I appreciate you coming on mic. You always do great when you come on the podcast, Heather. So I'd like you to be on more. Let's start a weekly podcast. Let's do it. Let's come up with a theme. But for now, we just wrapped up 100 of Sweet Child of Time. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Definitely thank you guys for joining me. And Nate and Heather, I hope you all always find water and shade and shoes.
Ahoy? Is that what I say there?
Say whatever you want.
Ahoy!
Congrats on 100.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Nate. Congrats on Voidmaster. Bye-bye, everybody.